Miss Tara does a great job here. Mystery Maverick. Her video is excellent. Actually, it's well done. It's about the Darlie Routier. She believes that Darlie is innocent. But I've spoken with Tara before. She's a very kind lady, very intelligent. We just have a differing opinion on this particular case, and I have no qualms with her whatsoever at all. Never has she been insultive or disrespectful to me, and I'm not going to do that to her. However, I watched her video, the first episode of the wrongful conviction of Darlie Routier, episode 1, and it's presented very well. She does very well with true crime. She's got a good voice. She's very detailed. It's a very good video, and I like the video. The content of it, however, I can be able to disagree with, respectfully. So what I've done is I have commented under this video. I watched it. I commented at the parts. I just want to be sure these comments stay here in case I run into her again. And note that I haven't been disrespectful at all. I've only questioned what she said here, which we have a right to do respectfully. So this is mine. She starts out a little bit being kind of snarky, but this is a passionate case, so she wanted to get that clear. So some of these comments, I'm just going to leave them for a second so I can go back to them in case they get deleted. I want people to understand that when you challenge these people to a civil debate, sometimes they'll just delete your comments and remove you off your channel instead of answering you. Instead of giving you a decent answer. I'm hoping that Tara will be able to give me a decent answer on some of these questions that I put out about what she said here. Now, this here with the Jody Fitz testimony about it when he wheeled Darlie past Damon's hospital room, I'm pretty sure Tara knows what that is. He said that when he pushed Darlie past, he knew he was coming down the walkway with her. And he knew he was going to come past Damon's room, so he was looking at her to be sure, that she was okay. He had to go that way. He said that as they went past there, they were working on Damon. You could see his naked body and the stab wounds and everything. As they were going past there, he said that Darlie just looked over and then looked straight back up at the ceiling and didn't have any reaction. Karen Neal did take the dog domain. I don't know if this sounds snarky or not. Just me asking a question. The dog domain usually had free run of the house, but for some reason that night he was upstairs in a room closed in. I thought it was kind of odd that you didn't hear him barking during the 911 call, just maybe a little bit. You didn't, but when he was going out of control, when these people were in his house, right, and he snipped at one of the officers, and that's why Karen took him. But Darlie said he always does that when strangers are around. You could see that. She said that. It's in a statement. Why didn't he start barking when strangers were around earlier that morning? And the reason I put this here, because she said that Karen Neal was in there and she saw all the stuff. I noticed that Darlie supporters always claim that the police trampled on stuff, and there shouldn't have been that many people in there, but they never said anything about Karen going in there. I just put that. Oh, and that trip that they had planned to Cancun was with Karen and Terry. Terry had passed away, I believe, in 2007. That trip to Cancun, was allegedly for a couple's sexual tryst. But I can't prove that. Yeah, and this with the cordless phone, they say, you can't, you can hear Darren the whole time. It was a cordless Sony, like a Walkman phone. It was one of them Sony phones, and it was laying in the foyer on the plastic mat that goes into the room where the children were killed. It was laying in that foyer with the door open. If that phone could pick up anything that was in that yard, anything that was going on in it. Yeah, and I just thought, when Tara explained that Waddell was, the first one at the scene, I think it was 1 minute, 34 seconds he got from Victory Baptist Church, where he was sitting, going over his paperwork and stuff for the night. She goes, as Officer David Waddell was nodding off in his patrol car. Now, I wonder where she got that from, because she starts off by talking about Waddell, and she starts off by trying to discredit him, as if he was nodding off in his patrol car. But then she says he rushed to the scene. Well, that's pretty good for somebody that was nodding off. I want to know where she got that he was nodding off. It seems like she starts right out with saying he was just a police officer, sleeping on the job, blah, blah, blah. Also, Kathy Ramsey had stated for years and years and years that when Waddell got there, he was white as a ghost, and he went right in that little side bathroom they got there on the other side of the wine rack. That's the bathroom. So, said he went in there and threw up. And that's not true. We found that to be not true either. Right? They're just trying to discredit him right off the bat. And there would be nothing wrong with an officer walking in and seeing two kids stabbed like that and throwing up. There would be nothing wrong with that. If it happened, but it didn't. She says Darlie and Darren exchanged some tense words. But they failed to mention that in their first written statements. In fact, they didn't mention any type of fighting, but later admitted they were fighting and talking of divorce. Why did they admit that straight away? In fact, they said just the opposite. That he said, "Dream of me," as he walked upstairs and went to bed. I always wondered why their first statement didn't mention any arguing or any fighting. But after that, we found out they were fighting that night. I'll tell you why. Because if the police came in there and they said, "Look, we got a huge fight. He went to bed, I went to bed, now our kids are dead." That's why they left it out. That's exactly why they left it out in their first statements. It says right here that Dana wanted, Tara even says, Dana wanted to go home to be with her fiancé because he'd be worried about where she was. Well, she had been over there for quite a while, several days at least. I don't know exactly how many days, but she had been staying over there. Why wasn't the fiancé worried about her while she stayed over there for the days? Anyways, Dana said she wanted to go home and see her fiancé. But you can also see the statement. You can also see the statement where Darlie said she wanted Dana to go home because she wasn't feeling well. Nowhere else in statements about what happened that night did Darlie say she wasn't feeling well. She didn't say she wasn't feeling well. She made chicken noodle soup. She didn't say she wasn't feeling well when she got some popcorn. She didn't say she wasn't feeling well when she laid down on the couch and Darren went to bed. She only said she wasn't feeling well when it came to Dana having to go home. My opinion is that they were fighting because Beijing told me they were fighting when she got there. That they were in the kitchen fighting. And Beijing said that she didn't really want to be right there when they were fighting. So she went out back, and that's where Damon was outside playing. And she said he was playing with a little stick, kind of poking it around at the ground, looking a little bit down. She said, "Well, what's the matter, Damon?" And he said, "Well, can I spend the night with you tonight?" And Beijing was trying to tell him she had to work and all that. "But why would you want to spend the night with me?" "Because Mommy's being mean to me." Then she said Darlie came out the back door right after that and had Damon come in the house. That's what Beijing said to me in video, where 170-some thousand people saw that before it's gone. And Tara is able to say what Beijing said that nobody heard. Nobody really heard her say that, but everybody heard Beijing tell me that. She also told me that her and Darren and Darlie would do coke together. She also told me that she thought Darren was cheating, and that Darlie was considering cheating with this man. She was talking to a man. She didn't say she did cheat with him, but she decided not to. I will say the truth on that. Here, She talks about the boys being able to pop that screen off and go in the garage and get popsicles. I always wondered why a grown killer would cut the screen if the 5 and 6 year olds would do it. Yeah, they keep talking about the cars going around the house. For one, out of all the years that I've heard people say something about that black car, no one could say what kind of car it was. All these different people saw it, but nobody knew what brand of car that was. I tell you, they had a $6,000 fountain in their front yard. It lit up, beautiful. It was common for people to slow down and look at it. It's also common for people to go in that alley and turn around and go back up Eagle Drive. I did it when I was there because I didn't want to go all the way down Darlie and come back around to Linda Vista. So I backed out. After I did the sock test, I just backed out of the alley and went down that way. People did it all the time. That's me questioning the black car. I want to see if any of these comments get deleted. Because this is what Darlie supporters will do. When you raise a good question to them, sometimes they'll just delete your comment and say that you were being mean to them when you weren't. I'm not being mean to Tara. I like Tara. She's very intelligent. But I just wanted to go through these comments and see if they're not there. Maybe sometime I'll ask her why she deleted them all, because I'm going to show you that none of them are disrespectful. None of them are going at... it's just discussing a case. None of my comments that are all here. These are all facts. I put them all there. I'm just going to go through them and be sure that she's fair and reasonable. If she's going to put out information about someone that was convicted and sentenced to death row, I just want to be sure she's going to be fair. That's all. I have no hate for these people. None at all that believe Darlie is innocent. I have hate for people who attack me because I have a differing opinion. But I applaud Rich. She says he's a private investigator. I've never heard that before. He's Darlie's. Yeah, he's looking into Darlie's case. Rich has always been respectful to me. But it's Mystery Maverick, and I want to save this just in case she deletes my comments, and then I'll put it back. And I'll wonder, why would people delete comments that oppose their views on this particular case as long as those views are respectful and civil and they're not attacking or insulting? Why would they just delete them? My take is they delete them because they don't want people to know the truth. That's all. That's a very good job, Tara. I like the way you present your videos, the way you create videos, the way you speak, the way you take your time. You did a very good job on this. Thank you. Now, this is what some Darlie supporters do. Mystery Maverick, who does very good videos, by the way. I like Tara, but I'm waiting for my questions, my civil questions, to annoy her because they can't answer them with the truth, right? So what she said was, in her video, she said that Officer David Waddell was sitting in the parking lot of the Victory Baptist Church in Rowlett when the police call came in that there had been a stabbing. She said that Officer Waddell was nodding off in his police car. All right, and that's the first I heard of it. All right, it's the first now that she brought it up, but she tried to make it seem as if the Rowlett police car officer was just sitting in the parking lot, just nodding off, not doing his job right off the bat. Right, but later on, while saying he was nodding off, she said he got the call and he rushed over to the scene. Right? So I asked her, I said, can you tell us the facts about Officer Waddell nodding off on his panel in his patrol car? Because it seemed to me like she was trying to say that they were right off the bat, they were lazy and they weren't doing their job. Right? When you ask a question, I know that Waddell wasn't nodding off in his car. Right? But she said he was nodding off in his car to her people. Right? I know he wasn't nodding off in his car. And then she said, then they say he was removed from the Rowlett police. No, he was promoted to Plano. But I asked simply, can you tell us the facts about Officer Waddell nodding off in his patrol car? She said, now I said the facts. The facts. I said the facts, right? Yes, it's from the book, Hush Little Babies. Hush Little Babies is written by Don Davis. Don Davis is not an investigator. He's not law enforcement. He doesn't do CSI. He's a writer. And he was not in the parking lot of the Victory Baptist Church on the night of June 6, 1996. He did not see Waddell asleep. There was no report of Waddell nodding off. No one said that Waddell was nodding off, except for this writer, who admitted that he had a crush on Darlie. He also got a lot of things wrong in his book, which, if you want me to, I'll do that. She says, yes, it's from the book, Hush Little Baby. So she'll believe an author who says that Waddell was nodding off in his sleep. That's a fact to her. That's a fact to her. Right? She says, as per my intro, I use multiple sources for my information and would like to use a book or two to make it as detailed as possible. But the thing of it is, books are not facts. That book is not a fact. I asked you to show me a fact that Waddell was asleep in his, or nodding off in his patrol car, and you couldn't do it. Well, Don Davis said so. Right? Well, Beja Jovel told me that Damon asked her if he could spend the night at her house that night of the murders because Mommy's being mean to him. That's what Beja told me. She didn't write it down. But that's what she told me, and she told everybody else that heard it. So it must be true, right? Because Beja said it. If Beja came back tomorrow, look, when Beja did that interview with me, 2 of them actually, 2 hours, none of the Darlie supporters were saying, oh, Beja's crazy, Beja this, Beja that, Beja's mental. They weren't talking about Beja until she spoke. But I guess that since Beja told me, and Beja was actually there, she knew them, Don Davis didn't know them. Don Davis didn't babysit for them. Don Davis wasn't there. So I guess that everything that Beja told me must be true because she told me that. And trust me, I don't believe everything Beja said. You can believe that. But you went on about her. You said that Beja resented Darlie and Darren. Do you have any facts on that? Where's the fact? Did somebody write that down? Now, if you want to call this nonsense, what I would say is nonsense is that you would say an officer of the law was nodding off in his car because some writer said so. That's not a fact. That's an opinion. But anyway. Now look, she gets angry. She starts to get angry. Now Tara's never got angry with me before. I've talked to her before. She's a very nice lady. But I've never challenged her on the facts before either. This is what Darlie supporters do when you catch them misstating what they claim to be a fact. As per my intro, I use multiple sources for my information and like to use a book or two to make it as detailed as possible. I'm not going to start playing games. That's not a game. You said that officer was nodding off in his patrol car, and I asked you where you got that fact from. You said you got it from an author. That's not a game, and it's not a fact. So if you think you're going to question every little word, I didn't question every little word. I questioned that stuff that you put up that was incorrect. Say you got another thing coming. Look, she's getting angry. She's getting angry. This is my channel. It takes a lot of time and hard work to summarize all the information into one video. I never said that. She did a great video. And I'm not going to be distracted by you questioning me putting up something that isn't a fact. I'm not going to be distracted. I'm going to put up whatever I want to, even if it's a fact or not, and you're not going to distract me from putting up things that aren't a fact. Go read the book yourself. I have the book. And I've sent several copies out to people. I've been stood in the crime scene. I've talked to Cyrilda. I've talked to Darlie Key many times. I've talked to Dean Poose. I've talked to Dave Neighbors. I've mailed with Jim Cron, Max Courtney. I've talked to jurors. I've talked to Charlie Sanford. I've talked to these people. Yeah, she gets angry. This is what Darlie supporters do when you question them on something they put out as a fact to the public. Now, if somebody hasn't ever seen this case, right, and they want to decide whether or not she's guilty or not, when they hear someone on the innocent side say, Officer Waddell was nodding off in his patrol car, that's a distortion of the facts, and that's not correct. And when you distort the facts to make her seem innocent, you disrespect Devin and Damon. That's what you do. Now, I asked you a question. You gave me the answer. You might as well wrote, well, it's not really a fact. Somebody wrote it in a book. That's what Darlie supporters do. You can be mad at me all you want, Tara. She can be mad at me all she wants. If she's going to put out this stuff, I'm going to catch her like I just did. She put it out as it was a fact, and it's not a fact. Justice for Devin and Damon. For Tara, mystery, the Darlie Routier video that you put up where you said Officer David Waddell, was nodding off in his police car when he got the call to go to Darlie's house on June 6, 1996. You said he was nodding off. And I asked you, well, where do you get that from? Where do you get that fact from? Because you always say that you do this with facts. You became angry at me for asking that question, called it nonsense, and you said that you got it from Don Davis's book, Hush Little Babies. Well, Don Davis is an author. He's a writer. He's not law enforcement. He wasn't there in the Victory Baptist Church parking lot that night. But since he said that in a book, you said you like to use books to help you clarify. Don Davis, that's not a fact that Waddell was asleep. But I'd like to direct you to this book, Killer Mom, Darlie Routier, paperback by Brenda Iris Heinzelman. I collaborated with her on this book and several other ones that she wrote. She wanted me to join her and collect proceeds from this book, but I didn't want to. I didn't want to take money for that. And some of the other books. So apparently, according to you, Tara, whatever Brenda Iris Heinzelman wrote in this book is a fact. Because Don Davis wrote that Waddell was nodding off in his police car, and you put that out as a fact. And you call me questioning that. Nonsense. And you're not going to play these games. Read the book yourself. I've read the book. I bought many copies of it, and I've sent them out to people. Yeah. So, everybody take a look at Brenda Iris Heinzelman on Amazon. Killer Mom, Darlie Routier paperback. Or you can see Brenda on YouTube as Miss Mensa. Now, there's lots of books. Let me go back here. There's lots of books out there that claim that Darlie is guilty. Right? Let me get this to move over a little bit. A lot of these claim that Darlie is guilty, right? But she's not using those books. Tara tells me that she uses a couple books to help her detail, but she's not using any of these books to claim she's guilty. Now, this is Kathy Cruz's book, which I mentioned in, if you've read it. Barb Davis mentions this is me. But anyways, I would really love to have a debate with Tara without getting nasty with her. But she's already gotten angry and nasty with me, and I've showed it. Now, I showed you earlier where all of my comments were on this page right here. I uploaded them into a video because I knew that it's typical for Darlie supporters to delete comments where you ask them to show something that they've said, where you ask them, can you show us that? It's typical for them when you come to them respectfully, and I've spoken with Tara before from the chat. I've never been on a panel with her, but she's always been respectful. But when they put out videos and you question it or you show where they're wrong, this has been happening for years. They just delete your comments, or they'll pick one and leave it up and try to tell you that it's nonsense and they're not playing games and you don't come here with that, blah blah blah. I'm trying to prove that they just delete my comments, right? They've been done this for years. When they can't prove what they're saying, and I bring something up that they can't answer, they'll just delete the comments, which is what Tara did. I'll show you now, right? This is a little bit. I started on it this morning, leaving comments, just to see if she would delete them or get angry, and that's exactly what she did. Why do Darlie supporters do this? I wasn't nasty to her. I showed you every one of the comments that I left. Wasn't mean to her, didn't call her names, nothing. But she deleted some of the comments and responded to one where I asked her, she said Officer Waddell was nodding off in his police cruiser. I asked her to show where she got that. Well, I got it from a book. That's not a fact. But all those comments that you see in the beginning of the video here, they're now gone. She deleted them. Rather than answer them, she deleted them. She left this one and responded to me on it. She got a little nasty, but not too bad. This is from the book of blah, 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 blah. Just because you like to talk about rumors as fact does not make them true. Yeah. Like you said, Beja resented Darlie. Well, that's not true. Waddell was asleep in his car. That's not true. You showed Darlie as a PTA mother, let me see, how do I say this? A room mother at Devin School. I talked to those people. Darlie was never a room mother. They didn't know her until after the case. Right. So I answered her, and she just left that. She took all the other ones off. All those comments that I left, rather than answer them respectfully, because she couldn't, she just deleted them. She left. She forgot this one, but she didn't answer it. The Innocence Project of Texas turned her case down. Darlie Key used to try to get us to write them. As supporters, she used to try to get us to call them and write them, because she had done it so much that they wouldn't even listen to her anymore. That's true. I kept Michael, but see, she has deleted all of the questions and comments that I left earlier. They're in the beginning of this video. That's why I recorded them. That's why I put them in a video, to show that these people come out strong and hard for Darlie. But if you question them, and if you question them civilly, they get nasty, tell you you're nonsense, and they're not playing games, or they delete your comments. Why do Darlie supporters do this? This is typical behavior from a Darlie supporter. Now, I haven't disrespected her. I've been nice to her. Now she's going to get nasty with me. This is what they do. And then they wonder why I come back and get nasty with them. So one, Mystery Maverick, even though you put up good videos, one, I caught you on, you stated that Waddell was nodding off in his car. You can't prove that as a fact. I showed typical Darlie Routier supporter behavior, and you've done it. I wonder why you guys will just block and delete. Why do you delete some of those comments but answer the one and get it wrong? Why do you delete them? Well, I've got all those questions that I left under your video here that you deleted. I've got them all at the beginning of this video. And I'm going to go back and stop where I posted those questions that you deleted, and I'm going to answer them for you. If you can't answer these questions, and you can't be respectful to someone that has a different opinion than you, then how can you be sure that Darlie's innocent? Just go and delete them. Just don't answer them, just delete them. Just delete them. So, Tara, Mystery Maverick, I would like for you, since we're talking about books, facts, and stuff that came from books, I would like for you to explain or tell us your version of Darlie's behavior at Darren's DeVry graduation. How she was upset that all the attention was focused on Darren, and that she got bored of all the attention being focused on Darren, and she left to walk home. When she got home, she told Darren this story about some man trying to attack her and rape her. This was written in a book, so it must be true. Can you explain that for us? I'm back. If you're going to put stuff out like this and come with that same typical Darlie Routier supporter behavior, you haven't been nasty yet, but you're falling right into the same old, let's just delete him, let's get Bryan out of here, let's delete him, because I come with the facts. And I don't mess with, well, Don Davis said that, so, yeah. Even when I say what Beja said, I just say she said that. I don't believe everything Beja said. But if you want to open up a can of worms on the Darlie Routier case and spread misleading information about officers nodding off, and there's other stuff in your video too that I haven't even got to yet. But when you put something up, I'm going to do what I did right here. You're going to answer snarkily, and you're going to delete my comments as if you have something to hide or you can't prove what you're saying. I'm back. You brought